consumed with the mighty rushing wind of Acts. As we go further in his word on today, today's manna will come from the familiar text of Matthew chapter 6, verses 5 through 6. Because there's a need for us to discuss the importance of prayer. Since some of us still fail to cast all of our cares onto God. So if you're ready, let's read Matthew chapter 6, verses 5 through 6. As it says, whenever you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, because they love to pray while standing in synagogues and on street corners so that people can see them. Truly I say to you, they have their reward. But whenever you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. You may be seated. Thus, the topic for this moment is hashtag the Spiritual Hotbox. Say it with me, the Spiritual Hotbox. Say it one more time for me, the Spiritual Hotbox. Now, what we are not about to talk about, for those that lit up when I said the word hotbox, is how to please our flesh with earthly things that take our focus off of God. But what we will be talking about, just in case you are wondering, is how we can go to the special place and space where we can properly pray, inhale all of God's outpouring, and charge up our faith through the trials we face. Instead of creating addictive habits where we use substances for personal pleasure, where we avoid reality, where we vent to people instead of consulting God, where we quit, where we hold grudges or give up, where we could easily cast our cares onto Him, submit to Him, stop trying to fix it ourselves, and let Him have His way. Moving forward, as we go further in the word, I want to reference that in Matthew chapter 4, Jesus was tempted by the devil, just like we are tempted. Yet, He didn't use any substance, didn't vent to people, He didn't quit, He didn't hold a grudge or give up for His own pleasure of being comfortable. But instead, He continuously talked with God in His spiritual hotbox, which is why He overcame the enemy's temptation. Then, after dealing with temptation and hearing about John being in prison, Jesus began preaching that the kingdom of heaven was at hand in Galilee. From there, Jesus went and gathered His disciples for the work that was about to take place. You see, if we take some time to analyze the movements of Yahweh, we will notice that after John is in prison, Jesus doesn't just utter His hope for the future, but because He had constantly been in a place and a space reserved for Him to have a little talk with His Father, tell Him about His struggles, and hear all of His cries, that made Jesus unison with God. Which is why Jesus had the assurance to prophesy to the disciples that He would make them fishermen and fishers of men. And the next thing you see is healing taking place in Galilee. Thus, because of the healing signs and wonders, the name Jesus, as a result of His miraculous work, That's when we isolate ourselves from ungodly situations and ungodly relationships. Which is why when we fast forward to Matthew chapter 5, we see the Beatitudes being given by Jesus to the multitudes. I feel my help coming. To encourage them of the blessings they will receive only if they stay in the spiritual hotbox. After that, Jesus awakens them about being the salt of the earth, the fulfillment of the law. And he gives examples in chapter 5 that supports his declaration up until chapter 6. And that is what we will examine within these next few moments. But here's a quick question for us to evaluate as we level up. How else can we be the salt of the earth if we don't make and take time to be seasoned, renewed, or filled by our supply? The first 4 verses in Matthew 6 talk about giving to the needy, but verses 5 and 6 contain our main point of interest, which gives specific instructions on how to get through storms in our lives. And that is through proper prayer. Somebody say it with me. Proper prayer. Church, go to Matthew chapter 4 and just glance over it until you hear me say the disciples had not been trained. Had not yet been trained. Mike, I mess up too. Jesus was tempted in isolation according to Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 through 11. See if it lines up. Jesus preached in isolation according to verses 12 through 17. Jesus recruited disciples in isolation according to 18 through 22 at that point. And Jesus healed the needy in isolation according to verses 23 through 25. So, since the disciples had not been trained, it is easy to understand that Jesus needed his own closet to prep in before his anointing was set to flow. And that, my friends, was the spiritual hotbox. This is the place where he spent hours in constant communication with God about his trials. It was where Jesus' help came from. It was the place where he sweat blood and tears so he could have faith to finish his task and receive his reward for being secretly obedient unto God. Why am I saying this? Because someone in here has wasted energy or knows someone that has wasted time, blood, sweat, and tears. Get this, in the wrong closet. For as Paul said in Colossians, I want you to know, Zion, how great a struggle I have for me and you. I am concerned about our spiritual welfare, just like Paul in Sunday school was concerned about those in Laodicea. And he said this, and I'm saying this, I'm concerned about those you love who have also not met me face to face. Why? Because as our Sunday school taught us, as believers, we still face heresies today. So we must stand boldly against false teachers, especially when they infiltrate our congregation, or we will fall for everything we throw our way. But the only way to have the faith enough to do that is to stay in your hot box. I'm helping somebody. God knows his words is in the vein right now. Somebody is getting stripped from this. And as God is speaking to me, that's why I don't want you to be worried about the troubles of this world. Because it will be here until Jesus returns. We just need to, like Mark, pay attention to the signs. Keep our spirits hot with fire from our hot box and apply, not just listen to the word daily. For if we do, whenever karma hits the world, just like God moved in Exodus, if we listen to him, I'm telling you, he's going to move in our era as well. Famine will hit, but God's obedient children will not hunger in the days to come. Plagues will hit, but his praying children will not be plagued. Because we are covered by the blood, what is meant to kill us will simply pass over and hit the one who refused the blood. It's not fair. It's not fair, but it's favor. Money will become scarce, but God's children will always be supplied by God's riches and his glory. For the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous ones of God. So we have to put pressure on prayer. And we need to focus less on distractions. Church, although we still see fake news, we shouldn't subscribe to it. My God, I feel like somebody felt that. We must be more careful not to sign our support to things that we have not thoroughly researched or prayed about. Because the enemy comes in trending headlines so he can steal our attention from God, kill our dreams for heaven to use us on earth, and destroy our ability to exist in God with the powerful might and dominion he entrusted us since Adam and Eve. I'm going to let that marinate. That's why we have to purposely make way to get into and stay in that spiritual hotbox. And we have to pray for the spirit of the living well to fight our battles. We have to give it over to him and stop trying to solve issues ourselves. Even when we feel like nothing is happening. I don't care how many seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, or decades it takes to manifest. We can't be like those who doubted that Jeremiah was preaching to for years at a time. We have to be different and use, not refuse the hot box. But in being different, I still have to acknowledge the elephant in the room. I'm not going to lie to you. Getting there will not be easy. Because until your spirit is trained to go into the room and close the door, your flesh will want to react to the problem out of whatever feeling sin will admit at that time. So you're going to have to use the PUSH acronym we have learned over time until you see something manifest. If you need a reminder, PUSH means pray until something happens. I believe I got some help in here. It was after Daniel prayed that he received the interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's dreams. It was after Hezekiah prayed that God gave him 15 plus years to live. It was after we prayed that Obama became the 44th president. But here's what we should not do when it comes to praying. Verse 7 of Matthew 6 says, when you pray, do not babble repetitiously like the Gentiles, because they think that they will be heard by their many words. Pastor, someone you know is praying with fancy words, not realizing that those words have no substance when they babble. And the sad part is that they don't think they're phony. This is because they are in denial, and they're in denial because they are being blinded by their own self-sabotage. However, my goal and desire for them is just as Paul in Sunday school, that their hearts in that aspect, which are now corrupted, will soon knit together with ours in love. I hope they, meaning me, you, anybody who steps outside of the will, can catch on fire with the Holy Spirit. I hope we become one in the heirs of Christ's love. I pray that we and they may be encouraged and have all the riches that assurance brings in the revelation of the understanding of the knowledge of the mystery of God, who is namely Christ. And in Christ are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge, but will upbraid it not to anyone who asks for revelation. I say this so that no one will deceive you, I, or them, through arguments that sound reasonable, but are really despicable, or deserving hatred and contempt. Which is why verse 8 of Matthew 6 says this. Do not be like them who babble, for your Father knows what you need before you even ask him. But pray, as verses 9 through 15 of Matthew 6 tells us. When confusion hits your address, Go to your spiritual rocks and say these words. Our Father, which art in heaven, may your name be honored. May your kingdom come. May your will be done as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. And forgive us our debts as we forgive those who trespass against us. And do not lead us into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one, Almighty God. Church, for if you forgive others of their sins, your heavenly Father, when you pray and forgive, will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others, you can expect your Father to forgive your sins. Another reason we should go to the Spiritual Hotbox, and I'm almost done, is because it is there where we will realize whether or not God is saying yes, no, or wait. Sometimes we ask God to deliver us from things like Paul, who asked God to take the thorn away from him and that enemy away from him. Or Jesus, who asked for the bitter cup to be taken away from him because it seemed as a man unbearable. But what we don't realize is that if God didn't say yes, it may not be our season for deliverance. I'm going to say that again so you get it. What we don't realize is that if God didn't say yes, it may not be our season for deliverance. Somebody say that with me. If God didn't say yes, it might not be my season for deliverance. It may be our season to endure and wait on the Lord to renew our strength. It could also be that we haven't learned or repented from a transgression, but we are asking God to relieve us of the consequence without even want to turn away from the thing we know is wrong. In 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verse 14, I know we all know it, or most of us do, it says, if we remember correctly, that if my people, which are called by my name, would humble themselves, pray, and turn from their wicked ways, then he would hear from heaven, forgive our sins, and heal the land. But some of us want our cake and eat it too. And God is not going to approve of that, because he requests us to choose ye this day whom we will serve. And he makes sure we know that the choice is not his, it's ours. I'm preaching to myself as well. Some of us are being tested. Some of us are being proved. Some of us are getting a second chance at new beginnings. Come on now. But if we don't go into our secret place, close the door to distractions, and use our isolation wisely, we won't pray, let alone pray properly. Our problems won't be solved because we will be failing to worship God in spirit and in truth. Therefore, don't fall for the okie doke. Instead, at every opportunity in life, whether things are good or bad, make it a practice to become perfect in your maturity to pray without ceasing, by never failing to get into your closet. Honor the Lord thy God by also treating people with the grace that you want to be treated with. Show them the attitude that you want to be treated with. Correct them in the love that you want them to be treated with. And when it's time for you to receive it, if you didn't give it out, don't get mad that it's not coming back to you. Don't get mad that people aren't treating you right when you know you did them wrong. You gotta go in your closet, pray for God to forgive them, and then when you see them say, hey, no, man, listen, I apologize for what I did. I can't expect him to forgive me if I haven't even shown him that I love him enough to try to apologize. We gotta stop that as a church. We gotta stop hiding behind things. We gotta stop throwing rocks and hiding hands. Come on now. This is not the place for us to be acting up. If any place is on earth designated to help people, it's the hospital of the church. And sometimes the church can be the worst place to go. Why is that? It's not because God ain't God. It's because we aren't doing what he's telling us to do. Pray for them as you would want others to pray for you when you need help. Or you'll simply be a hypocrite until you change. Don't just pray for the family that you love. Pray for that family member that you can't stand.
Come on now.
And last but not least, the next time you endure a problem, don't waddle in premeditated confusion or retaliation. Just go to your secret place. Go to the spiritual hotbox where he meets our every need. Leave your burdens there and let God arise and watch your enemies be scattered. Thank you, Lord, for your word. May it manifest into the hearts of your people. May we leave this place and apply this word to our lives. May we leave this place and never be the same. In Jesus' name, I pray for strength and courage over our minds, oh God. Release us from strongholds. Release us from ungodly positions. I pray that every attack on our life be dismantled right now. For greater is coming to our address. I speak greater into the atmosphere. I speak a revival of prayer into the atmosphere. No more substance abuse. No more fulfilling of the lust. No more complaining. No more of us putting you on the back burner. No more of us handling things our way when we should be in our hot box seeking your way. I apologize for us and our inability to trust you with all of our heart. I apologize for us who have given you part, but not all of us. I'm sorry for our shortcomings, and I ask that you turn them into overcomings. For that person who has been mistreated, I speak to the person. I speak for the person that hurt you. I'm sorry. For that person that lied on you, I'm speaking for them in the spirit and say, I'm sorry. As a person who purposely harmed you in any way, I speak for their souls so that you can be made whole, so that you won't have to go through unforgiveness. I'm giving you the apology you want to hear as I stand in that gap for them and say, forgive me. Because even though I know what I'm doing, I really don't know how much hell it is causing you. And if it were me, I wouldn't want to be mad. If it were me, I would want you to treat me in an atmosphere of love that I can receive and not feel like I'm being persecuted. Now I pray that we let it go. I speak divine obedience into the atmosphere. I speak clarity and focus into our hearts. I speak boldness into our members. I pray that the Spirit of the living God will dwell in us richly, henceforth and forevermore. If you agree, let your heart say amen. God bless you, son.